This from PFF, panic meter for each 0-2 team. For the Bengals, 0-2 in the North. They've lost to the Patriots as well as the Chiefs. Panic meter is low. Cincinnati has started 0-2 in each of the past 3 years, overcoming initial hurdles to reach the playoffs in 2022, still ending 9-8 last season. When you look at the when you look at the Bengals, let me ask you this. What do you see that's the most troubling? What do you see that isn't as troubling?
So I'll start with the isn't as troubling. I think much has been made about the offense and the receivers and everything, but I think that's a fixable problem, right? Get T. Higgins healthy. I think playing a guy like Jermaine Burton-Moore, who gave them a big catch last week and has a lot of speed, I think that could help. And then just targeting Jamar Chase more. I don't question their passing game as much as everybody else, as long as T. Higgins can get healthy and productive soon. I have bigger concerns about their run defense. Their defensive line right now is getting mashed in the run game. We've seen in each of the first 2 weeks. The loss to New England's been highly publicized, and last week too, it was rough against the Chiefs interior. That's really, really good. I don't know that the Bengals' run defense is as fixable. And you're talking about other teams in the AFC North that want to run the football, right? The Ravens and Derrick Henry, and the Steelers have Fields in their backs, and the Browns at their core, they really want to run the football as the base of their offense. So I would be much more concerned about this Bengals defensive line and stopping the run than I would about the offense in Burrow. I think they're going to score enough points to win games, but can they stop the run and get their defense off the field?
So the other team in the North that's 0-2 is the Ravens, and for the PFF panic meter there, we have moderate as the level of concern. Ravens falling to Kansas City in the opener wasn't a shocker. Sunday's home loss to the Raiders, though, most certainly qualifies. They need Lamar Jackson to play like his usual dominant, multifaceted self. Reigning MVP ranks 13th in overall PFF grade, 16th in passing grade through 2 games, both of which are far cries from his 2023 marks. I saw a little bit of the Ravens. Their wide receiver, Zay Flowers, is fine. Their passing game and their defense, I really think they miss Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator, who's the head coach in Seattle.
I completely agree. And right now, I watch this defense, and a couple of things I see. One, losing Patrick Queen to Pittsburgh, and now you've got Roquan Smith struggling through a couple of games. Those two as a pair, when they got together, were incredible. But separately, we've seen this before Roquan was traded to Baltimore. They've had their struggles as separate players, and they played really well together. And I'm not exactly sure if Roquan is used to having Trenton Simpson next to him and just needs to adjust to that. And then in coverage, they're struggling at cornerback. We saw it last week; they were ahead. We saw it even in the Chiefs game. Look, they're just having problems on the outside covering, and offensively, you're right. It's the receivers. And look, I know they got Derrick Henry, and that's flashy, and you put him next to Lamar, and that's great. But Derrick Henry doesn't catch many passes, and Zay Flowers is a good receiver, and they've got 2 good tight ends, but they did nothing to improve at wide receiver, and they're just hoping for a breakout from Rashad Bateman or Tylan Wallace or somebody else. They're having problems on both sides of the ball, winning on the perimeter. And look, it's going to be an issue against Dallas this week that, look, you have to find a way to cover CeeDee Lamb. That's one of the hardest tasks in football. And if you're not ready for that on the outside, Dallas could go in there and beat you too.
Steelers are off to a 2-0 start. And I say that they've scored 1 touchdown in 2 games. What have you seen that's been so good from Pittsburgh? And is the way they're playing sustainable in your mind?
They do need to score a little more for sure, but I really like what I'm seeing from Justin Fields. And it's kind of like we mentioned with the Browns. Mike Tomlin always understands what type of team he has. And more often than not, that's a defensive team that needs to score enough points and get ahead, milk the clock, and get the pass rush going right with TJ Watt. But I like the way Fields is playing. You haven't seen him in Chicago play this more conservative. I know game manager is always used as an insult. It's really not in this case. I think the game managing part is what Fields always struggled with in Chicago, that they really never taught him that, okay, just go out there and be an athlete and run the ball or chuck it deep or do whatever. They've got him reeled in a bit, and I really like the way Fields is just managing the whole thing. They need to score more, but I don't think for me it's so much that they're playing bad. They just need to finish drives. I just see them, they get down in the red zone, and it just kind of stalls a bit. And I think that happens a lot with a new quarterback and a team that's not necessarily loaded offensively. They've got guys. They got Najee Harris and Jalen Warren and George Pickens, right? But I think just finishing drives for them more than anything. Between the 20s, I think their offense looks pretty good. I think Justin Fields looks good. So the good thing is they're not expected to go out there and score 35 points. They don't have to the way their defense is playing. So Fields is managing it well. And I think if they score a little bit more than they're scoring right now, they can sustain this.